FNAF Security Breach is right around the corner, and while that corner may be a block away, we're still gonna milk this thing for as long as we can. So what animatronics do we hope are left out of the latest 5 Minutes of Freddy's title? Let's do it. And at 10, the puppet. I think I might have said this phrase more than any other saying in this goddamn world, but the puppet creeps me the hell out. Any form of the puppet is creepy as well. Like, I don't even have a fear of dolls, which I believe is called pediophobia. Either way, the puppet is one of the creepiest, creepy-ass characters that I know of. And honestly, after seeing how it walks in FNAF VR, I don't want to see it running around the Pizzaplex, because that's some horrifically terrifying that I don't want to deal with. Not only that, but the puppet is supposed to be dealt with after FNAF 6. And if this game does take place after FNAF 6, like the appearance of Helpy in the first trailer suggests, the puppet has no business being in this game. So if it does show up, there are going to be some real issues with not only the timeline placement, but also like the lore, because I wouldn't understand what's going on at that point. I know that there's like those like little like nightmare puppet things, but like those are more like mini arenas, so. And at 9, the Stitchwraith. Now don't get me wrong, a Stitchwraith appearance would be insane and would give us a canon version of the character. Well, a canon kind of like appearance. However, the amount of crap that this would mess up is beyond comprehension. The sheer lore implications this one thing would reveal just sends shivers down my spine. That would confirm every Fazbear Frights book in the main canon of the game. And it would also confirm them mostly as written, which would screw up the whole it's a matter of interpretation thing that we currently got going on, saying that like, oh yeah, Andrew from the Man in Room 1280 is just representative of this. That we couldn't say that anymore. Plus, I mean, from what we know of the story, it doesn't fit in properly whatsoever. This would be one of the weirdest ways to absolutely destroy the story of all the games. Like, the Stitchwraith has no sway in the story that we currently know for Security Breach. Don't get me wrong, the narrative we've been told could be a total lie and a giant misdirect, but come on. Currently, if the Stitchwraith shows up, I'm gonna be mad. And at 8, the OGs. The original animatronics are definitely some of the most iconic from the series, the most iconic being Toy Chica, obviously. However, the OGs appearing in Security Breach would be much like if the puppet had appeared. It, at this point, would have already been dealt with. The Happiest Day minigame set their souls free, and then their remnant was taken care of in FNAF 6's fire after Ennard as Molten Freddy got destroyed. At least if the games follow the novel story of the original animatronics remnant getting used in the Funtime animatronics. But even if they didn't, their souls were released in the Happiest Day minigame. That was the whole point of that minigame. So if the original animatronics show up, I'm going to be very confused. This whole timeline is very messy to begin with, so like we can use this as a way to sort everything out going forward. Like how I've been saying with the other two, these would just throw a wrench into everything that we've come to understand. And while this is par for the course for FNAF, I don't want to deal with it. And at 7, Bonnie. Now I'm calling out Bonnie specifically because honestly having any form of Bonnie animatronic in this game would be kind of pointless at this point. Bonnie has been largely removed from the game for currently unknown reasons, however introducing a glamrock Bonnie or something would kinda come out of nowhere and it's not really worth it. Bonnie sure is a fun animatronic, but the lack of a Bonnie animatronic could be serving as a way to demonstrate that Scott is moving on from the series after this game, since we all know that he believes Bonnie is the scariest given that he had nightmares about the character while playtesting FNAF 1. So Bonnie not being included is kind of symbolic in a way, and I'm sure it didn't start off this way unless Scott had been planning his retirement for a while, but to include a Bonnie now would probably cheapen the game, especially because it's not really that big of a reveal. It's not going to be like Cap holding Mjolnir or if there are really 3 Spider-Men in No Way Home, so it would just kind of be annoying for me. And at 6, Springlock suits. With this game seemingly being as far away from the first FNAF game as can be, it's been ages since Fredbear's Family Diner, so the Springlock suits which would appear at this location would be an absolutely horrible idea to include in this game. The timeline placement is already finicky enough, but including animatronics that would have been decommissioned for decades would definitely confuse everyone. Especially me, because I'm one for choosing the most complicated and unlikely scenario and then believing it so much that I dedicate a whole theory video to it and then everyone gets mad at me in the comments. But if we see the Springlock suits that were both destroyed for, well, kinda obvious reasons, I think it would be safe to say that it's a bad idea to have them make an appearance, unless it's like in a form of like an Easter egg in a museum display or something similar. Halfway through into number 5, Vanny. Now I know that currently all we know about Vanny is that she's being controlled by Glitchtrap and that she's supposedly supposed to be the security guard Vanessa as well, but there were so many people accusing Vanny of being a robot in the early days of the trailers. Now don't get me wrong, but if that happens I'm going to jump off a building and everyone has to watch. Turning Vanny into an animatronic would probably take away from the story of this game so much, and honestly that would just make another game with Afton as the villain, which I'm sure plenty of people are fine with, but I think we all know that I'm firmly against Afton being brought back yet again. Since if we're moving forward, I don't want to have to deal with more Afton. He's like the link to the confusing and mind-numbing timeline, and honestly it just makes me dizzy to think about it. He's like the ex that won't let go. He just like, let us move on, please, Afton. Stop calling me. And at 4, Scrap Animatronics. The Scrap Animatronics are some of the most recent additions to the FNAF roster, being included in FNAF 6 and Scrap Baby being featured as a plushie in FNAF VR. The Scrap Animatronics were simply to allow for the story of the original group of victims to wrap up so we could move on with what comes next. So reintroducing them, aside from maybe an Easter egg, would be a huge conflict, especially with, again, the timeline, since this was supposed to take place after FNAF VR and AR, but FNAF AR's emails have the dates at which you actually receive them IRL, and FNAF VR is supposed to be the company trying to rebuild its rep after years after the final FNAF 6 fire, at least 4 years from my estimate in the timeline breakdown video I did. But with the reintroduction of these characters, it would have to take place sometime, at least at the same time if not earlier. But it also can't be too much earlier, since that would conflict with even more things. Do you see the issues I'm having here? Plus, they're terrifying and I don't want to deal with them again. Getting close to the end, in at number 3, Nightmares. The Nightmare animatronics better not show up in this game. In addition to the whole timeline issue as well as the story issue, these animatronics specifically are supposed to be illusions, created in a child's head as his mind processes that he's in the hospital dying from being bit by Fredbear. The whole point of these animatronics is that they weren't real animatronics. Yet, if they end up appearing, like someone seemed to point out to me on Twitter, since the arm from the end of the very first trailer looks like Nightmare Freddy's arm, we're gonna be in for a treat. And by treat, I mean me freaking out and going absolutely bananas, because that would be the icing on top of the crap cake, from my perspective, honestly. Plus, like I said, this would cause a whole kerfuffle, and it would mean that Afton is probably gonna come back. If they can find a reason to make imaginary animatronics real, and it's not just like in like a video game in universe or in William's mind, they would find a reason to bring William back yet again. And there would be nothing I could do about it. It would drive me insane. But ultimately, in at number 2, Springer Scrap Trap. I know I already mentioned the spring lock suits and Scrap Animatronics before, but I just wanted to reiterate that I don't want to see William in this game. Unless it is in the form of Glitch Trap, because that would be unavoidable if this is really the story. But Springtrap or Scrap Trap aren't good ideas, since again they should have been destroyed and William now exists as sentient code. So any physical manifestations of the character would have to be illusions if we get possessed or some hallucination. Although I don't know how Gregory would know what either version looked like, considering how, you know, he's a kid. But like, I don't know, maybe that's why Special Delivery includes Scrap Trap though, because that's the way that Gregory could understand what he looks like and able to actually hallucinate him if we do end up getting possessed by William and then he starts driving us crazy. Damn, now I like the way that this is going. Hallucinations aside, an actual real version of this character it would make me mad, okay? It's a pretty simple request. This isn't No Way Home. We don't need a multiverse and like time travel from like different aspects of the FNAF universe, okay? We don't need it. No matter how excited I am for No Way Home, we don't need it in FNAF. And finally, in number 1, Music Man Spider. Music Man was already a pretty creepy dude, okay? He feels like that uncle that's always standing around at like family reunions when those were legal, and he's just chilling out in the corner, drinking. Yeah, Music Man just chills behind you in Ultimate Custom Night, and then just like the old neighbors, he tells you to keep the racket down, resulting in a jump scare if you make or cause too much noise. However, here comes FNAF 9 with some goddamn arachnophobia, fear hallucination or something like that, because Music Man now has 6 legs and is absolutely gigantic. Yeah, this got real interesting real fast, and editor, I'm sorry that I'm swearing, but this makes me mad. Considering how I'm arachnophobic, I really hate this guy. But those who are arachnophobic and robophobic are going to find these sections of the game absolutely unplayable. So have fun with that. At least I'm not scared of robots, I'm scared of spiders. And I mean, like, I feel like I should be scared of spider robots, but they're not actual spiders. So I mean like apples and oranges. And while yes, this guy is actually in Security Breach and like he's being created for Security Breach, I put him on this list because I don't want to see him in the game. This will cause me to breach the security of my pants. There we have it, friends. Oh man, that was an interesting video. Thank you all so much for watching. I have been and Shower Mini Connor Monroe, and I'll see you in another video. Maybe.